opportunity to learn lessons. You may like the lessons or hate them, but you have designed them as part of your curriculum. Why are you here? What is your purpose? Humans have sought to discover the meaning of life for a very long time. What we and our ancestors have overlooked, however, in the course of this endless search, is that there is no one answer. The meaning of life is different for every individual. Each person has his or her own purpose and distinct path, unique and separate from anyone else's. As you travel your life path, you will be presented with numerous lessons that you will need to learn in order to fulfill that purpose. The lessons you are presented with are specific to you. Learning these lessons is the key to discovering and fulfilling the meaning and relevance of your own life. Once you have learned the basic lessons taught to you by your own body, you are ready for a more advanced teacher, the universe. You will be presented with lessons in every circumstance that surfaces in your life. When you experience pain, you learn a lesson. When you feel joy, you learn a different lesson. For every action or event, there is an accompanying lesson that must be learned. There really is no way to avoid the lessons you are presented with, nor is there any chance that you will be able to skirt around the learning process. As you travel through your lifetime, you may encounter challenging lessons that others don't have to face, while others spend years struggling with challenges that you don't need to deal with. You may never know why you are blessed with a wonderful marriage, while your friends suffer through bitter arguments and painful divorces. Just as you cannot be sure why you struggle financially while your peers enjoy abundance. The only thing you can count on for certain is that you will be presented with all the lessons that you specifically need to learn. Whether you choose to learn them or not is entirely up to you. The challenge of Rule 2, therefore, is to align yourself with your own unique path by learning your individual lessons. This is one of the most difficult challenges you will be faced with in your lifetime, as sometimes your path will lead you into a life that is radically different from others. Don't compare your path to those of the people around you and focus on the disparity between their lessons and yours. You need to remember that you will only be faced with lessons that you are capable of learning and are specific to your own growth. If you are able to rise to this challenge, you can unravel the mystery of your purpose and actually live life. You cease being a victim of fate or circumstances and become empowered. Life no longer just happens to you. When you are working toward fulfilling your true purpose, you discover astonishing gifts within yourself that you may have never known you have. This process may not be easy. The rewards are well worth the struggle. As you strive to discover are the lessons that make it seem as though you are getting a raw deal from life. These lessons come wrapped in less attractive packages and tend to cause most people to quickly put on their resistance lenses. When you are not open to seeing your lessons, losing your job looks like a catastrophe rather than an opportunity to learn the lessons of forgiveness or flexibility. Experiencing heartbreak can look like a crisis rather than a hint to learn the lessons of kindness or unattachment. Becoming a parent for the first time to a child who is disabled can appear to be a punishment rather than a chance to learn about healing or support. While the less attractive lessons may not be fun, they can actually be the biggest gifts to you to receive. For me, the lesson that came up recently is patience. I knew it was a lesson I needed to learn because I constantly found myself in situations in which I felt rushed, irritated, and annoyed. I needed to learn this one, but every time it presented itself, I seemed to get those resistance glasses on before I was able to see the opportunity to work it out. I was convinced that this particular situation was one in which I really needed to get things done my way quickly, and that my resulting frustration had absolutely nothing to do with my needing to learn the lesson of patience. The lesson was camouflaged by my resistance. How can we move from resistance to openness? By first recognizing the feeling of resistance. Resistance usually manifests itself physically in a clenched jaw, a tightness in the chest, or sighing. Mentally, it shows up in thoughts like, why do I have to deal with this issue? I don't want this. I don't need it. I don't like it. Once you discover where in your mind or body resistance anchors itself, you can more easily identify it in the future. The next step is to remind yourself that you have a choice. You can either continue with this resistance and feel badly, or you can learn whatever the lesson is there to teach you. Presenting yourself with a choice allows you to see that you have control over your resistance and how you choose to deal with life's challenges. The last step is to ask yourself, am I willing to give up the resistance and learn whatever lesson is presenting itself? Remember, if you want to truly live from your authentic self, you must be open to learning all the lessons you are given so that you may grow into the person you want to become. What lessons are you resisting? Choice. I will do strongly before the sun and moon whatever inly rejoices me and the heart appoints. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Choice is the exploration of desire and then the selection of action. In every moment, you are choosing either to align yourself with your own true path or to veer away from it. There are no neutral actions. chose to find a job that accommodated at least one of these interests. Much to Betty's astonishment, she manifested a job that actually accommodated all of these seemingly disparate interests. She became a special events coordinator for a major upscale department store. Her first assignment was to entertain the executives from a couture French design company by dining with them in the elegant restaurants. Think back to an authentic choice you made at some point in your life. Perhaps it was a strong pull to visit a foreign country, or a feeling that a certain romantic relationship needed to end, or the sense that you needed to leave your corporate job and start your own business. How did it feel to act on your choices? Remember that feeling. It is the essence of living aligned with your path. Fairness. I cried because I had no shoes until I saw a man who had no feet. Author unknown. Our sense of fairness is the expectation of equity, the assumption that all things are equal and that justice will always prevail. Life is not, in fact, fair, and you may indeed have a more difficult life path than others around you, deserved or not. Everyone's circumstances are unique, and everyone needs to handle his or her own circumstances differently. As you work toward aligning yourself with your own individual truth, you will be required to move out of the complaining phase of "it's not fair" if you want to move toward serenity. Focusing on the unfairness of circumstances keep you comparing yourself with others rather than appreciating your own special uniqueness. You miss out on learning your individual lessons by distracting yourself with feelings of bitterness and resentment. Take, for example, Jackie and Christine, two sisters who are miles apart on the traditional beauty scale. Jackie was a tall, statue brunette with startling blue eyes, a graceful demeanor, and an elegant sense of style. She was so striking that people on the street would often stare as she passed by, certain that she was a movie star. Christine, on the other hand, fit the classic definition of a tomboy. She was compact and plain looking and rarely bothered with fashion or makeup. No one would ever mistake Christine for a movie star. Jackie had been married twice. Christine never. Jackie always had men calling to ask for dates. Christine far less frequently, though no one would expect it judging from Christine's tough exterior. She spent a lot of her time comparing herself to her older sister, trapped in Jackie's shadow. She belabored the unfairness of the allotment of jeans between Jackie and herself. It was not until Christine finally sat down to make a list of all the things she was good at and all the things that made her special that she was able to see her own unique gifts and cease dwelling on the comparison with Jackie. She realized that her natural athletic ability was a true talent in which she could revel and excel, and that she had a gift for supporting those around her. Even though she acknowledged she would probably never turn heads the way Jackie did, she admitted many things she appreciated about her physical form and was delighted to see the list was quite long. Grace is one of those intangible qualities that is difficult to describe but easy to recognize. Those who possess grace seem to walk effortlessly through life. They give the illusion of glowing from within, and that glow is apparent to everyone around them. To live in a state of grace means to be fully in tune with your spiritual nature and a higher power that sustains you. Grace comes when you're able to move from your lower self, where your ego dictates the path that should be rightfully yours, to your higher self, where you are able to transcend your ego and expand into your greater good. It comes when you shift from a me-centered reality to an understanding of the bigger picture. Grace comes when you understand and accept that the universe always creates circumstances that lead every person to his or her own true path, and that everything happens for a reason as part of a divine plan. Sounds wonderful, you might say, but how do you achieve such a blissful state? By remembering each and every day that the lessons you are presented with are special gifts uniquely for you, and that learning these lessons is what will bring you to a state of grace by anchoring yourself in the belief that you will be given whatever is right for you, regardless of how far off it may be from your perceived personal agenda. Take, for example, Delia, a young woman with a natural gift for writing. Delia came from a wealthy East Coast family whose mandate for her was to get married to an equally wealthy man, move to a large house in the suburbs, and pursue some appropriate avocation like volunteering or fundraising for a charity. However, Delia knew deep in her heart that her passion for writing was a divine gift, and that her true path was that of a writer. Naturally, her family was horrified when she announced she planned to move to New York and pursue a freelance writing career. Delia eventually did pursue her dream. She loved her small apartment downtown, met other aspiring writers with whom she could share her writing, and work came her way almost effortlessly. Her life felt as though it was flowing beautifully, though she needed to deal with the disappointment of her family and the frightening reality of stepping out of the comfortable framework built for her. She stayed aligned with her truth. When I last saw Delia, she had been commissioned to write a long piece for a major magazine and possessed that inner glow of grace. In the state of grace, you trust in yourself and the universe. You can celebrate other people's blessings, knowing that their gifts are right and appropriate for them, and that the universe has your gift right around the corner. Rule number 3, there are no mistakes, only lessons. Growth is a process of experimentation, a series of trials, errors, and occasional victories. The failed experiments are as much a part of the process as the experiments that work. Human growth is a process of experimentation, trial, and error, ultimately leading to wisdom. Each time you choose to trust yourself and take action, you can never quite be certain how the situation will turn out. Sometimes you are victorious, and sometimes you become disillusioned. The failed experiments, however, are no less valuable than the experiments that ultimately prove successful. In fact, you usually learn more opportunity to learn something important about your own thoughts and behaviors. Every situation in which you feel wronged by another person is a chance to learn something about your reactions. Whether it is your own wrongdoing or someone else's mistake is simply an opportunity to evolve further along your spiritual path. When you consider the hardships of life, the disappointments, hurts, losses, illnesses, all the tragedies you may suffer, and shift your perception to see them as opportunities for learning and growth, you become empowered. You can take charge of your life and rise to its challenges instead of feeling defeated, victimized, or cast adrift. A wonderful story that illustrates this is from The Speed of Light by Gwyneth Cravens. A sad told her story. It was about a young girl from Morocco whose father was a spinner. He became prosperous in his craft and took her with him on a voyage in the Mediterranean. He wanted to sell his thread and told his daughter that she should also look for a young man who would make her a good husband. But a storm caused the ship to flounder near Egypt, killing the father and casting the daughter ashore. Miserable and exhausted, barely able to remember her previous life, the girl wandered in the sand until she finally met a family of weavers. They took her in and taught her how to make cloth. Eventually she became contented. But after a few years, she was captured on the seashore by slavers who then sailed east to Istanbul and took her to its slave market. A man who made ships mast went to the market to buy slaves to help him with his work, but when he noticed the girl, he took pity on her, bought her, and took her home to serve his wife. But pirates stole the cargo he invested in, and he was unable to buy the other slaves. He, the girl, and his wife had to make all the masts themselves. The girl worked hard and conscientiously. The mast maker found her to be so capable that he eventually granted her freedom and made her a partner in his business, which she came to enjoy. One day, he asked her to accompany a shipment of masts to Java. She agreed, but off the coast of China, the ship was struck by a typhoon. Again, she was washed up on a strange seashore, and again she cried out against her fate. Why do these bad things keep happening to me? She asked. No answer came. She got up out of the sand and started walking inland. There was a legend in China that a foreign woman would appear and make a tent for the emperor. Because nobody in China knew how to make tents, the whole population, including one generation of emperors after another, wondered about this prediction. Once a year, the emperor sent out emissaries to every town to bring all the foreign women to the royal court. In due course, the shipwrecked woman arrived before the emperor, who asked her through an interpreter if she could make a tent. I think I can, she said. She asked for rope, but the Chinese had none, and so recalling her life destruction and at the fulfillment of the old prophecy, and offered whatever she wished. She married a handsome prince, remained in China, surrounded by her children, and lived to a happy old age. And she realized that although her adventures had seemed terrible when they were happening, they turned out to be essential for her ultimate happiness. The girl in the sad story saw, in hindsight, the magic within her dreadful circumstances. She was able to see the perfection in the grand scheme of things. While it is not always easy for us to view our situations from a macro perspective, it is essential in order to find the good in what appears to be unfortunate circumstances. To ease this process of learning, you must first master the basic lesson of compassion, forgiveness, ethics, and ultimately humor. Without these essential lessons, you remain trapped in your limited view and unable to parlay mistakes into valuable learning opportunities. Alright guys, I'm going to have to stop here, and we're going to pick up from here next time. The next time we're going to be going into compassion. So we're going to go into compassion, and then it talks about forgiveness and so much more good stuff. Okay guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and feel free to comment, okay? I love reading your comments, and I'll be sure to reply. Thank you.